Hey everybody, Mark over here at Twanger's Turntable. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, I hope you'll find something you'll dig. You'll stick around and check out some of the videos I've made. I've been doing this series of Black Sabbath shorts recently. Maybe you'll check that out. I'm trying to create playlists for all these. Anyway, if you're returning, thank you so much. I really do appreciate all the support out there in the vinyl community, all my buddies, whatnot. Which brings me to why I'm here today. I want to jump on this. I've been wanting to jump on this for a couple of weeks. So my buddy Brett over at Headbanger's Closet, there's so many threads and contests going on, it's hard to keep track. But my buddy Brett, he did this this take on George G's Room of Rock. He did a thread probably a month and a half ago about 10 bands that scream thrash. Well, Brett did a take on that 10 albums that scream 80s hair and glam metal. It's a spin-off video, and he clearly says that, but I really want to jump on this. I really dig Brett. I consider him a good buddy here in the vinyl community. We have a lot of things in common. So this is my response to that thread. I hope you'll jump on it. You'll go over to Brett's channel, check him out. And all these other threads and contests that are going on, I really want to jump on, but I just don't think I'll have time. So I'm going to leave links below, but I want to shout out a couple that come to mind. Jack over at the CD Cave, I know him and his wife Deb were doing one I really want to get on about travel. I'm not going to have a chance to do that, I'm sure, or if I do, it'll be much later on. Same for oh Jesus, I should have checked this before I got on here. My apologies. I'll leave a link. Celebrating 1 year in the vinyl community, and it's a contest about. It is an actual contest. As my buddy Gary over at Physical Format so eloquently pointed out, it's about damn time. No, it's a contest celebrating and recognizing his first year in the vinyl community. My buddy Steve also did a great entry and good take on his. I'll leave links. You should definitely go check them out. And there's a couple of more that I want to do that I can't for life of me think of right now, but if I think of them when I'm done with the video, or I will leave links below, but I want to do this one for my buddy Brett. So one of the albums, he wanted to show 10, so there's 11 I've got here with an honorable mention, because I just felt like I had to show this one because of my experience with it. The first one Brett showed, not the first one, but the first one I'm going to show is this one from 1986 and the debut by Cinderella, Night Songs. Yeah, this is a 2016 reissue of Music on Vinyl. But I remember distinctly, like clear as day, being at a party, and the way some of the parties worked back then, at least the parties I would find myself frequenting, was mostly hard rock metal, and so you'd get a lot of the traditional metal, what I call anyway, new wave of British heavy metal and new wave of American heavy metal, and I had just finished playing Screaming for Vengeance by Judas Priest. Oftentimes people would bring their own music, and if it was something deemed acceptable, you could spin it, right? So most of these were still on cassette. CD, I think, was just coming in, at least where I was. It wasn't all that status quo by any means. It was relatively new. Very few people had them. So I'm pretty sure it was on cassette. So anyway, I finished up with we finished up with Screaming for Vengeance, and somebody pulled this out, and I knew the person, and I just thought, what the hell is that? Because I remember looking at the artwork, and my first instinct was to associate it with something like Bon Jovi, which, to be fair, this is around, yeah, it was around Slippery When Wet, because I think they actually toured with Bon Jovi. No, they did. I don't think. They toured with Bon Jovi for that album. But I didn't care for it. I did like their first album, and then I liked 7800 Degrees Fahrenheit, but I just had kind of lost my interest in Bon Jovi. And when I saw this, that's what I thought of immediately. And they said, no, listen, you don't judge it by that. Put it on, and you'll see. So we put it on, and sure enough, man, it's great. Tom Kiefer on here, the vocals, just got that edgy enough to it that it makes it stand out from a lot of those more. Not that he doesn't sing ballads. I'm not a big ballads guy either, but some of the stuff he does that is more ballady, I don't mind as much for whatever reason. But yeah, Tom Kiefer, Eric Brittingham on bass, Jeff LeBar on guitar, and Fred Corey is credited with drums on here, but he doesn't play. he had left the band, or he had joined the band. Yeah, he had joined the band, I think. Yeah, he joined the band after the recording was done. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's right here. Sorry, yeah. All the drum tracks were done by Jody Cortez. I knew I'd read that sometime before. And John Bon Jovi actually does some backing vocals on here as well. But yeah, so yeah, Jody Cortez, who was a studio musician, did all the tracks, the drum tracks on here. But it's a good rocking album. It's very blues based. It's not. But anyway, I mean, what the thread is here is the glam and hair metal, and that definitely screams 80s glam hair metal. I don't know if you would agree, but I definitely agreed. As soon as Brett showed that, I have to show that, just because of that. I could relate to that, seeing that and thinking it was going to be really not something in my wheelhouse, but it definitely is. I love it. So the rest of them I've done chronologically, so let's get going. 1984, Autograph. I should take these out of the sleeve so you can see them. This is their debut. Sign in, please, with the big one. Turn up the radio. And actually, Steve Lynch, really good guitar player. Does a lot of that Eddie Van Halen tapping. But anyway, I won't get into a whole bunch there. I'll be here all freaking day. But it's a good album. And ironically, that song almost didn't even appear on here. The record label didn't really think it fit, but the band insisted that it go on there. And good thing it did, because that's probably responsible for selling millions of copies of this and then subsequent albums that followed, because that was their biggest hit. So what did I say? 1984, yes. So next up, another from 1984, Rothchild, Stack Attack, their debut. I think they may have done an EP prior to this or something, I don't know. But speaking of glam I always associate it with 70s rock. A lot of these bands were inspired by, a lot of the 80s bands were inspired by 70s glam and that type of AOR rock, whatever. These are definitely one of them. And in fact, they even do a cover of Gary Glitter's song, Doing All Right with the Boys. It's just titled All Right with the Boys on here, but something tells me it was supposed to be Doing All Right with the Boys. I don't know, but anyway, definitely, I'll show you the back of this one. This one screams glam hair metal. There's no doubt about that one. And these were on the Heavy Metal Records label, but this is the Canadian label. It's unfortunately not nearly as cool as the one over in the UK that's got the, well, I always thought it was like a rocker on the label, between the words heavy metal. But yeah, it just says Heavy Metal Records Canada on this label. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, it's upside down. Even if you can see it, you sure as hell probably couldn't read it. Sorry about that. So yeah, Rothchild, Stack Attack. I'm pretty sure I've seen somebody show that recently as well, but it's got an entirely different cover. Not entirely different cover. I think the lettering was a different color. And the pillars weren't there. I forget who it was. I'd like to give credit where credit is due, but it escapes me right now. It definitely falls into that. I'm going to try and resist from commenting about the actual music on most of these, because I'm already, up past 5 minutes here, and I'll be here all night. So next up, these are like partly Yugoslavian. I don't say partly, but I think they are pretty much all Yugoslavian, but they were produced by a Canadian producer. The band is called Warriors. Not to be mistaken for Warrior. I know there's another band, a metal band, a hard rock metal band from the 80s called Warrior. But these guys were primarily from Yugoslavia. I think they all were, if memory serves, but don't hold me to that. Come with this cool inner sleeve. Now, what I like about a lot of these is it's got a lot of the bands that were on this label back then. I used to have that comp. I still do have the comp on cassette, Metal for Breakfast. But it's got Tank, Filth, Hounds of Hell, or Filth, Hounds of Hades. It's got Anvil, of course, Killer Dwarf, Priest, Riot, Merciful Fate, another Riot, Lee Aaron, Budgie, Deliver Us from Evil. That's so yeah, there's some good old stuff on this side. It's got Merciful Fate again, Don't Break the Oath, Mad Max. Most of these I remember. Blackout, Evil Game, Battle Axe, of course, Power from the Universe. Yeah, good stuff. Jaguar, this time, that's probably their best I shouldn't say that. That's very subjective. And then just the liner notes. So this is 1984. So I'm like 16 at this time, going on whenever this came out, 16, 17. And I just remember really digging this album. And all these albums I'm showing you, I pulled them all out last week, and I've spun them again because some of them it's been a while. And it's kind of funny how the, you know, these things, how we, I guess, evolve or we change or whatnot, but it's not, it doesn't move the meter the way I remember it back then, and maybe that's just the way some things are. But yeah, produced by Fraser Hill. He was probably best known for producing Red Rider, who I can think of, but many more. Yeah, that definitely screams hair and glam metal. Next up, oh yeah, well, Ronnie Keel. Keel, The Final Frontier. I like this better than The Right to Rock. The Right to Rock came before this one. This is 1986, their third record. But yeah, a good one. Produced by Gene Simmons. Let me pull that out. You can see the back. Not as quite the glam and hair metal band as some of these others. Always just a good rocking band, in my opinion. But I do think this is probably my favorite one. I like this one better than The Right to Rock. Although back in the day, The Right to Rock, I know for a fact, got spun a lot more than this one. Probably just because of when it came out. By 86, I was more into, I had moved on. I had, not entirely, but I was more Megadeth, Metallica, Anthrax, all that stuff, Slayer. I mean, so as good as this stuff may have been a couple of years earlier to me, by 86, it was starting to lose me a little bit, but definitely screams hair and glam metal. Next up, in 1987, I could say that even more about this one, White Lion and Pride. This is their second, but this is a very notable album, more so now than it was back then for me. But you got Mike Tramp on vocals. I believe he was from Denmark, but yeah, Vito Bratta on guitar. He's actually an amazing guitar player. I don't know if I would go as far as to say he's underrated, but because that always depends on who you ask, so very subjective. Greg D'Angelo and James Lomenzo. Now see if you recognize that James Lomenzo. I'm speaking to you Megadeth fans. So he actually replaced, Jesus Christ. No, he didn't replace him. Oh my God, having a brain cramp. He actually replaced Dave on bass. Wow. I can't believe this is happening to me right now. Him and James Lomenzo and Greg D'Angelo actually were in a band with Zakk Wylde after this called Pride and Joy. Fantastic. I'd love to find that on vinyl, but it's very difficult to find. But yeah, the big breakout on here I think was Wait. And so those type of songs usually aren't my bag. But yeah, Dave Ellefson, my God. He replaced Dave Ellefson between 2007 and 2009. And then he's in Megadeth again now. He's going to be on the new album that comes out January 26, 2026. You got yours pre-ordered? I got mine pre-ordered. Allegedly, Megadeth's last one. We'll see. But yeah. Pretty good stuff. I mean, and the other factor with Dave D'Angelo on drums, he did some demos with Anthrax back in the early 80s. That's the only notable thing about the members of the bands themselves. But like I say, Vito Bratta, just a fantastic guitar player. Next up, 1988, and as you can see those images, definitely in that glam metal, hair metal. Yeah, Rocksgang, next up. I just got sidetracked there in my own head, thinking about Megadeth and the history with Ellefson. Sorry about that. But yeah, Rocksgang, things you've never done before. Now, they did have an EP prior to this. I think it was just on cassette called Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. But this is their major label debut. And you can see the back there. I'm not taking it out of this shrink wrap. This is the original shrink wrap, so it's staying. But yeah, definitely into that hair metal glam criteria you asked for, Brett. So yeah, but you know, it's. I was just about to say what you would expect by hair metal, glam metal, but I shouldn't do that. I of all people should know better because it's happened to me. Give it a listen. You'll either like it or you won't. So that's the way stuff goes, right? Another one from 1988, Bullet Boys. So this is a really good one too. I like these guys. This will be their debut, self-titled debut from '88. But it pretty much consists of all the members from King Cobra before, with the exception of Mark Torian on vocals. But yeah, again, had a lot of promise, and I actually don't know what they did after this, to be honest, because like I say, by this time, this would be the exception to the rule of bands like this. I would hear about because I was listening to other stuff. But yeah, they were produced by Ted Templeman, so they had a lot of comparisons to Van Halen and Montrose, and I don't know if that was somebody else's somebody else putting that out there, but I don't necessarily get that vibe myself, but give it a listen. You'll either like it or you won't. Did I pull that one out and show you? I did not, did I? But they definitely are of that era. I mean, you know, the LA Guns, the Guns N' Roses, but not on. They sound really good. What am I trying to say here? Jesus, that's what I'm trying to say. Next up, Hurricane. Now, back then, again, not something I knew a lot about to a degree, but I'll try and expand on that a little bit. But Kelly Hansen, lead vocalist, would join Foreigner, not exactly metal or hard rock, but a band I was familiar with from the 70s and you know, going even into the 80s. He stayed with Foreigner right up until recently, 2025, and I think it's mostly just due to health. I don't know the details. I typically don't get much into that, but I think they fit that hair metal, glam metal label. A couple other significant things about this. Like I say, I'm not going to... the album's called Over the Edge. Sorry if I didn't say that. But yeah, you probably know... Well, I'm assuming most of you who are watching this know Rudy Sarzo, you know, notably Quiet Riot and Ozzy and whatnot. But his brother Robert plays guitar on here. And then also from Quiet Riot, Carlos Cavazo, who played bass, or played guitar. His brother Tony plays bass on here. So yeah, they also do a pretty decent cover. You know, I shouldn't say that. I mean, make up your own mind. But they do a cover of Alice Cooper, I'm 18 on here. But yeah, pretty decent record. In fact, I think Cavazo. Yeah, Cavazo. Carlos Cavazo. He's the one that replaced Randy Rhoads in Quiet Riot. Yeah. And then, funny enough, Rudy Sarzo's brother Robert was asked to join Ozzy. Well, I don't have them up there. I was looking because I changed all my records. But he was asked to join Ozzy after Randy Rhoads had passed away. Of course, he didn't get the gig, but he was asked to join. So how far that went, I don't really know. So now we're at, that was 88, 1989, the next up. And this is Cats in Boots, Kicked and Clawed. So this, to me, is, like I say, I hesitate to use comparisons, but this does have some Motley Crue vibes to it, that type, you know, but yeah, this was their debut. It followed the EP Demonstration East Meets West in 88. The reason for that is the guitar player and bass player were both from Japan. Yeah, I can't remember their names. Maybe it's on here. Yeah, of course it is. Yashiro Butch Hatai and Takashi Jam Ohashi on guitar and vocals. And then they were joined by a couple of Americans, Randy Mears on drums, and Joe Ellis on vocal. He's also credited with harmonica. So yeah, there's the band there. They did some stuff after this, if I recall, but I didn't. Again, we're talking 88, getting into the late 80s. Or this is not something that is something I pay a lot of mind to by that time. But yeah, it's a decent album. Shotgun Sally would be the one they're probably best known for, the tune, I mean. But yeah, the EP that came before this, basically all the songs that were on that EP are on this record anyway. So 1988, yeah, this one is gonna, yeah. So the debut from Kingdom Come, and the reason why I maybe said, yeah, this is gonna be polarizing for many because of the Led Zeppelin comparisons. And if you know the history, you know the history, but I'm not going to go into a history lesson here on this one. That's just not what I'm here for. But this is actually a decent record, I must say. Best known for Get It On, and that's where the big comparisons to Zeppelin came in. Another one that I believe these guys were out of Germany, or at least the vocalist was out of Germany. Wolf was his name. Have it on here. Yeah, Lenny Wolf was the vocalist. He's from Germany. The rest of the guys are all American. James Kodak, that's the drummer. Yeah, he even joined Cult and did some demos with him, I think, before Ceremony, but never stayed with them. And of course he replaced Herman Rarebell and Scorpions, probably around 2000 and no, before that, 95, 96. Stayed with them for a long time. And then you've got Johnny B. Frank on bass guitar, Danny Stagg on lead guitar, and Rick Steer on rhythm guitar. And that's about all I'm going to say for that. But definitely fall into the response for this thread. Let's just leave it at that. Kingdom Come, 1988. Yeah. And last, but certainly not least, this is a ripper. This is a great album, in my humble opinion. And it is Jakey Lee, after he was with Ozzy and ceremoniously or unceremoniously, left his band. It's just a really good rocking album, and it's unfortunate in many ways the baggage that comes along with this. This band consisted of Jakey Lee on guitars, Ray Gillen. I won't get into the story about that, but he actually did some tracks for Tony Iommi and Sabbath that were never used. You can get them on YouTube. Greg Chaisson on bass and Eric Singer on drums. Fantastic. So yeah, but if you don't have this one or you haven't heard this one, this I put right near the top of some of my favorites in my collection of that era. I love this album, and I really do dig every song on here. Yeah. So that's it. I'm going to leave it at that. Those are 10 plus one honorable mention. I had to do that Cinderella, Brett. So go over to Brett's channel, check him out. Maybe jump on this. It's like I say, it's a spin-off thread from George. George did a great thread on 10 albums that scream thrash. But this is a great one in its own right that Brett started. 10 albums that scream hair and glam metal. So I hope you dig that, everybody. I enjoyed doing it. I probably won't get a chance to do another long form video for a little while. I did stop at we had a day out and I bought some records at a record store locally here. So I'm working on doing that video. I got some footage to put together. I hope to have that up, but I will basically have my grandsons here for the next week and a half, almost 2 weeks. So I'll be a busy grandpa for a little while. I won't have a lot of time for videos other than my shorts. I'm going to continue to do that Sabbath short series I'm doing. I really enjoy that. So I'll leave it at that. Let me know what you think. Any thoughts of these glam hair metal? That was a label that used to drive me nuts. It doesn't bother me anymore. It doesn't mean anything to me anymore. It's the music that matters. So I'll leave a comment below. Go over to these other channels. I'll leave links, like I said, and be back before you know it. Really, I mean, everybody needs a break. You'll probably appreciate having a break from me. I made a hell of a lot of videos in the last little while, at least by my standards. So that's it. I'll leave it at that. Thanks again, everyone. I hope you enjoy the upcoming weekend. Enjoy all the great content that's out there in our vinyl community, and go and support some of those guys and gals as well. Thanks again, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers, everybody.